The Maplewood and Recreation Commission meeting, 6 p.m. on July 19th. Roll call, it looks like Kimmy's the only one absent, is that?
No, and it might be better just to say who's here,
here?
since there's several gone. So.
Okay.
Call your name.
Mark's here.
Mark,
Craig Brandon.
Terry Millette,
Monica Martin.
Okay, and then absent are Vicky and Kimmy
okay.
and Jason DeMo.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Does anybody want to make approval of our agenda tonight?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And would someone like to make an approval of the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, yes.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. New business, Gold Leaf Pilot Project.
All right, thank you, Chair, members of the Commission. Tonight we have Taylor Matheson, who is part of the Gold Leaf Pilot Project. She's an intern that's been working with us in our department, and she is here to talk to you about all the great things that they've been doing. So I will turn it over to you, Taylor. And I believe we have the computer. Your presentation's up.
Thank you. So I'm Taylor Matheson. I'm a junior at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. I'm majoring in fisheries, wildlife, and conservation biology. And I got this internship through the Clean Energy Leaders program that they just started last year, I believe. So, yeah, I joined because I'm interested in kind of learning the inner workings of like policies and the government and stuff like that. So, the Green Step Cities program is an acknowledgement and award program that Maplewood has participated in since 2010. It assists the city with sustainability best practices, and the way it works is that you kind of work your way up the steps, with steps 1 through 3 being a little more basic, and then step 4 is when you report your sustainability metrics each year. And then to get to step 5, you have to improve on at least 3 actions per year. And Maplewood has been at step 5 since 2016. So now the Gold Leaf Pilot Program is a program that Maplewood and 11 other cities are participating in. And it runs from March to September of this year. And basically, it's just the city taking 2 new climate actions, and the Environmental Commission and Green Team recommended the Climate Mitigation Planning and the Green Building Code as the 2 that Maplewood should go for next. So, climate mitigation planning is to go towards the climate action plan that will eventually be written. So the climate adaptation plan was already adopted in 2021. So completing the climate mitigation planning will eventually complete the climate action plan. And the climate mitigation plan will just include strategies that will reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And this will be done in 2 phases. Currently, we're in the education and outreach phase, and then eventually in oh, there is a typo. That's supposed to say 2024. In spring of 2024, there will be the stakeholder planning and draft plan. So this is our flyer that we have been using. Well, we haven't been using a flyer yet, but we used the banner.
Yeah, we actually had the banner. Taylor was a great
Yes.
sport and joined us on 4th of July and spent her day with us out at Hazelwood Park and had a booth, and she can talk about the activities they did to get people to come over and encourage people to take the survey. So go ahead. That was our first foray into kind of gauging with the survey, and I did put a hard copy of the survey in front of you on your desk for reference, but the QR code works, so you can just zero in on that. It'll take you to the survey. So go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, and if you don't know how to do the QR codes, there's the link there as well, super easy to access. And then the logo is really new. The Environmental and Natural Resources Commission helped us come up with the slogan, and then the communications team came up with the actual logo. So, all of the outreach that we have planned for this summer, the last one was the Light It Up event, and we used solar beads to kind of like draw the kids in. So the solar beads are white, and then when the sunlight hits them, they turn different colors. So that was really fun for the kids to make bracelets with. And then the parents are kind of just standing around, so I would try to talk with them. We realized that it would be easier with more than one person, and everyone else was busy. So I tried my best to kind of help the kids with the bracelets and then get the adults to look at the banner with the QR code so they could take the survey. And then we also had a, what's the word I'm looking for? We had like a sticker board thing with 8 different mitigation strategies, and we had them make a little dot on 3 of the ones that they thought were the most important or the best to take. So yeah, we will also be going to July Celebrate Summer in Afton Heights Park, and then National Night Out. We are planning on hitting a couple parties throughout Maplewood so that we can reach different demographics in different areas. And then there will be 2 more after I am done with my internship, since I end on August 11th. So Sean will be going to the Rice Larpenteur Summer Block Party and the August Celebrate Summer in Edgerton Park. And so far, the survey was opened in the beginning of July. So we've gotten 28 responses, and these are 4 of the key questions that we pulled and made the visuals out of. So over half of the survey takers thought that it is important for Maplewood to take action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And yeah. And then similar here, over half agreed with Maplewood should be a leader when it comes to proactively addressing climate change. And then some demographics. Not a lot of people, well, no one 25 or younger yet, and then not a lot of people 75 and over. And then we're also planning on doing some promotional social media posts. So hoping that'll get some of the younger people involved in taking the survey. And then got some variation in race and ethnicity, but we're hoping to kind of use National Night Out as a good way of hitting certain like demographics that aren't seen as much in the makeup of it. And then, like I said, the other part of the Gold Leaf Pilot program is the Green Building Code. So Sean is a lot better versed in this than I am, so just kind of go over the basics of it. Maplewood adopted it in 2013, and it's based on the 2012 International Green Construction Code and the 2008 National Green Building Standards. And it applies to all city-funded buildings. The first one built under the code was the South Fire Station. The most recent one in 2022 was the North Fire Station, and then there was a community building and some apartment buildings also constructed under the code. So now we're starting to look at updates that we could do to the code, since there have been updates every 3 years, so 2015, 2018, and 2021. And the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission recommended that we look into updates in EV charging station requirements and renewable energy requirements. So the review process is at least 1 year, and right now we are in the process with the ENR Commission, moving into the Planning Commission in 2024, and then in the summer of 2024 with the City Council. So, if you're wondering how you can get involved, take the survey, share the survey with friends and family, volunteer at an event, and offer comments and feedback.
So if I can add to that, Taylor, so we'd encourage you to take the survey, and if there's a way you can share it, and I can send these links to you too, separate from this as well, just to get the word out. And as far as volunteering at the events, there, other than National Night Out, the Celebrate Summer events are park and natural resources events too. So again, you're always welcome to come and volunteer and help out at our table or at the table where they're doing some things. So go ahead, Taylor. I'll let you stand for questions.
Yeah, that's everything I have. So any questions, comments, or feedback?
Taylor, I have a question. So if I'm doing National Night Out, can I make copies of this survey and give it out at my National Night Out? And how would I get them to you?
I would suggest probably, we were talking about this at the ENR Commission meeting on Monday. Commissioner Ted Redmond talked about making little kits so that we can give them out to people, like, so it would just have the QR code on them, because I think we're sticking to online responses, just so we have them all in one place, and so that we can easily make the visuals out of them, to just pull
And
everything.
I know we have a lot of different nationalities in our neighborhood, and some don't even speak English, so I don't know if they'll be able to figure that out or not.
Yeah, Chair, members of the commission, we can see about if there's a possibility for translating, but as Taylor said, we're hoping to get the responses online the way this survey's set up now. If someone does have a hardship and can't and needs to do a hard copy, I'm sure we can figure out a way to set up an account for them and then enter the answers in. So it's not saying
Okay.
we wouldn't, but we'd encourage people to just do it online.
Online, okay.
Because it's just so much easier. We're not duplicating information, and then they don't have to share their answers with someone that has to enter it in with their name and their information. Because each person that you sign up to do it, they're going to keep track of the people. I just printed up a copy so you could kind of see it and go through it, but.
I think we have like 4 different languages on our block that are other than English. And
Sure.
I printed out, last time I did my National Night Out, I said, I'll provide pizzas for everybody. And one family brought pizzas because they thought that's what it meant. So I just want to make it as easy for them as possible because they all come.
Sure. Well, that is a good question. We can look at how we could maybe offer it in a translated version.
Okay, thank you.
I believe
Anyone
at
else?
one of the meetings we had talked about offering it in different languages, so I don't know if we ever looked more into that, but it could be in the works.
Okay.
Hopefully, we can do that.
Thank you.
Well, I have a comment and a question / concern. First of all, the comment is, I'm also an election judge, and the area that we are in is the only district in the nation that requires our ballots to be produced in the Hmong language because of our population of Hmong. So if we're taking that as a precursor to what we're doing, we shouldn't be moving forward without having this available to them, and we should wait until it is available to them in order for them to participate as valued citizens of our community. So
Sure. And Chair, members of the commission, with the going to the 4th of July, it was just quick turnaround to try to get something out there, but this survey isn't a time where it's going to set. We anticipate having the survey open through at least the end of the year, if longer. So I'm sure Sean Finwell, our environmental planner who's spearheading this, has, as Taylor said, looked into translating it and seeing. We're working with communications still on how to totally get this out, maybe have a presence at the mall. And so we'll definitely take your comments back, and this will be evolving, but this was just a way to get started with the limited time Taylor was here and get some initial feedback.
I understand, but I think moving forward, given the percentage of Hmong within our community, it's got to be something that's taken care of immediately. The second piece I have is regarding the questionnaire. Is this a confidential questionnaire because it requires you to put in your email address?
Yes, so
So it's not confidential if it requires your email address, which is going
No.
to thwart your efforts to get a lot of people especially those of ethnicity, to respond.
Yes. I'll share these with Sean Finwell for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Taylor, for all your hard work. We appreciate it, and good luck.
Of course. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming. All right, it looks like Parks and Recreation Master Plan Natural Resource Presentation.
Slideshow. Yep. I'm just trying to use my eyes. There. Yeah. It's very tiny on there.
Thank you, Commissioners. So I'm going over some of the updates to the master plan recommendations. We
If I can introduce you, Carol,
Oh,
just in
sure.
case. Sorry, I was just getting here. For those of you who might not know, I think maybe, Monica, you've been here before when Carol's presented, but for the audience at home, this is Carol Gurnis, our Natural Resources Coordinator, and I did ask her to come present and focus on open space and preserves, because we've been talking about wanting to, as part of your goals and initiatives, to review the master plan. So Carol took the segment in the master plan about open space and preserves, nature center, from the 2015 master plan. So she's going to be using that as the guide and focusing on that, and then giving you updates on all the great things she's been doing. So I'll turn it over to you, Carol.
Thank you, Audra. So some of the recommendations overlap a little bit, so I apologize ahead of time if I repeat a couple things, but I just want to make sure that it all gets covered. Okay, for the first two recommendations, 1 and 2 overlap a lot, and focus on the preserves being multi-purpose areas set aside for preserving natural resources, but also connecting people to nature and providing educational programming and historical interpretation. So one of the ways we're meeting this recommendation is through grants. We have a number of grants that are active right now. The first one I'm going to discuss is from the Friends of the Mississippi River. It is a grant that focuses on restoration of 2 sites for pollinator habitat, but also an educational component that covers Native American culture. Those 2 sites are Maplewood and Carver Preserves, and I have listed our funders at the bottom. The activities that are happening right now at both preserves is to remove invasive shrubs and trees. Both of these preserves were planned as being more open prairie-type preserves for the most part, and a lot of invasive shrubs like buckthorn, non-native honeysuckle, Siberian shrub, or Siberian elm have moved in. So those are being removed. After removal, there's a plan to plant pollinator-supporting native plants. And then the cultural educational component is that there will be a program and/or signage at one or both of these sites that cover interesting facts about native plants that are important to the Dakota people, who are the original people of this area. So a little bit about the progress. Applewood was started late last fall. So the contractor that was hired brought in a brush cutter that not only cut the brush but kind of mulched it at the same time. And it was going along pretty well until we got all that snow. So we've had to go over it twice in some areas because the snow was so deep the mulcher couldn't mulch the stumps down far enough. So at least close to the trail, the stumps are very low now. Already, we can see improved views and vistas instead of a wall of buckthorn. And then I just visited both these preserves yesterday, and there are a lot of native prairie plants that are beginning to return on their own. But in addition, there will be some seeding and some planting of plugs. So Carver Preserve, the first brush removal was started, and then our snow got a little bit too deep, so they had to put the rest of the brush cutting on hold for this coming fall. But already in the areas where it's been cut, the view has been improved. You can see some native plants returning. Carver Preserve is a little bit more challenging. To get to the wooded area is a kind of a long drive. And again, the deep snow was a little bit challenging. It also has more invasive plants than Applewood. So there's, as part of this program, they are going to be treating some of the invasive plants at the preserves. When I went on my little monitoring hike yesterday, I saw 7 different pollinators already in the area that was cut. And they ranged anywhere from a clear wing sphinx moth, and most people know those as hummingbird moths, all the way to 2-spotted bumblebees. And then the lower picture in the right is evidence of another bee that I did not personally see, but there's a group of bees called leafcutter bees, or Megachilidae, and they will cut little circles out of leaves, bring them to their nest, wrap that leaf like a little sleeping bag around some food and an egg, and then make walls so each baby has its own nursery. So kind of a cool little bee. Okay, recommendation number 3 is to retain scenic areas, landscape buffers, drainage ways as other open space areas. These spaces are minimally maintained and they do not have trails. We have a lot of these areas, from water retention ponds to wetlands, other areas, and so they are minimally maintained. But if residents contact us and have a concern about buckthorn or anything else, we will train their groups to remove. We will also remove hazard trees, and as you can imagine, this year we've had a lot of calls about hazard trees. We also control invasive plants if they're reported on these sites. And some of these sites are included in our frog monitoring routes. So the city has 4 frog monitoring routes that cover the entire city. Each route has 10 stops, and the monitors that survey these routes go out at night. They will spend at least 5 minutes at each stop on their route. So that's a total of at least 50 minutes. And then they report what frogs they're hearing. And then a lot of people will run the routes also during the day, and if they notice anything else is amiss, whether it's invasive plants or trees down or something, they will let us know about that as well.
Hey, Carol, could you maybe let the commission know why frog monitoring is important, why they do it?
Oh, absolutely. So frog monitoring, frogs are kind of the canaries in the coal mine as far as our water quality goes. If you remember back in the late 80s about the deformed frogs that were discovered in the state, and there was a big search for what was causing that. Since frogs are kind of bathing in their environment, if there's something amiss in the water, sometimes you can tell just by the condition of the frogs. And sometimes the absence or presence of frogs. So we've had some wetlands in the past where people were mowing all the way up to the edge. There was no buffer. The water kind of looked like pea soup, and there were no frogs singing there. Once buffers were installed, the water quality cleaned up, and now we have frogs. So they're a really good way to at least give us an idea that something might be going wrong somewhere or that something might be going right. Recommendation number 4, create a protected ecological area overlay, identifying areas within parks, preserves, and open spaces with high-quality plant communities and wildlife habitat. Actively preserve, restore, and manage these areas. So we don't have an actual map going, but we've got a pretty good idea of which areas are high quality, and a lot of our areas are improving. So some of our preserves, when we first purchased them, we're in need of a lot of maintenance and restoration, and we're slowly chipping away at those and increasing the quality at our sites. A good example, and I have a picture towards the end of our presentation, is Prairie Farm Preserve, which had a restoration done in 2019. And if you go out there now, it's in full bloom. This is like the glory of Prairie Farm time. So I really encourage everybody to go out there and take a look. We have so many wildflowers in bloom, and it takes a little time for things to hit their peak, but it's all well worth it. Currently, we do have that restoration underway at Maplewood and Carver. We also have one underway at City Hall campus, and that's a different grant that I'll talk about soon. The City Hall campus one is having some challenges, but we're moving forward and making some headway. And pollinator training for that grant, so that the plants will be planted, and then there are going to be monitors checking from beginning to end to see if there's an improvement in the number of pollinator species we see. So the monitoring session, I think, actually is tomorrow for the training, but I'm sure that there will be additional if there's more interest. So if anybody's interested in that, they can contact me at the city. We're also this year removing invasive brush at Gladstone Savannah. We're going to start restoration at Jim's Prairie, which has historically been our highest quality preserve. And we are also treating various invasive plants at Maplewood Nature Center. So here's a nice picture from Prairie Farm this past week. And I know you're seeing a lot of blue there. That's a plant called hoary vervain. It has a spike that starts blooming at the bottom, and then those flowers go up towards the top of that little spike that you see there. And so it stays in bloom for quite a while. It's a little harder to pick up, but we also have a lot of coneflowers there. We have some sunflowers blooming. So it's a pretty good diverse mix. I'd also like to point out some of the rare species that we have in the city, and a lot of people aren't aware of these. We have two spots where we have great Indian plantain, and it took a while before we noticed this, and it's hard to imagine because this plant gets about 8 feet tall. It has very big leaves. It's at two different spots. The area at Fish Creek is actually just over the property line onto the Ramsey County side, but it's a great plant. Kittentails, we have a few of those plants at Maplewood Nature Center. They are not native there. They were planted by one of our naturalists in the past. And I am trying to think of different ways we can protect those. We may end up moving them to a more conducive site as far as survival goes. We also have brown-eyed Susans at Maplewood Nature Center. They look like a black-eyed Susan, but they're taller and each flower is smaller. They tend to spread by seed a lot, but then they kind of peter out. So we're trying to keep them going, and we'll be collecting some seeds and trying to get them going in some other sites. We also have had sightings of the Blandings turtle at Maplewood Nature Center this year. We have in the past, but it's been a while since we've seen them, so it's good to see that they're still around. State endangered species. One of our naturalists years back spotted a butternut tree at Fish Creek. We will be having the Minnesota Conservation Corps doing a survey this fall for how many trees are there. It's been a little bit difficult to tell because the trees are so thick in this area, and it's also on a very steep slope. So the Corps members that will be doing the surveying might even need some rope work, but they can get down that slope and hopefully find that there's more than one tree. And then I'm sure you've all heard about the rusty patch bumblebee, which has been seen in several parts of Maplewood, both historically and now. So at Jim's Prairie, it was seen many, many years ago. We have had people out there surveying more recently, and they have not seen it, but it has been seen at Maplewood Nature Center, at Fish Creek, and also in the Hillside Park neighborhood, where we have a new stormwater project being installed, and that will have native plants that are pollinator friendly. And then a lot of people are also not aware that the monarch butterfly has been proposed for being put on the federally endangered species list. This year I've seen a few more monarchs than I have the last 3 years, which is promising. And we've been seeing the monarch butterfly throughout Maplewood, but it's just another reason to get those pollinator sites up and running and in good condition. Okay, recommendation number 5, maintain the Nature Center as a community hub for environmental stewardship and nature-based program. The natural resources programs are typically offered at the Nature Center. The programs I offer include buckthorn training, rain garden rescue class. If there's anybody out there who has a rain garden and it's in need of some help, this is a free class. We do some inside learning and then go outside to do a little practicing. We also have our Emerald Ash Borer program, EAB, What Can I Do? Same sort of thing. What sort of things can you do in your yard, on your property to help stop the spread? And also, if you're losing trees, what are some good ways to replace those? In the spring, we have tree care and shrub pruning basics, and that class actually is part of the in-kind for a couple of our grants and also our stormwater program. We do Maplewood Living articles, website updates on several stewardship topics. And then last but not least, we have a partnership with Century College Biology Department where their students in ecology and general biology will come do service learning at the preserves and work on different things like buckthorn removal, seed collecting, a wide variety of experiences for them. Also, as part of number 5, stewardship, a big part of my position is applying for and administrating natural resources grants, and those include the EAB Boulevard Replacement Tree grants, the pollinator grants. We have a new grant that started this year that increased the number of trees that we could offer for our tree sale. So rather than 150, we were allowed 300 trees, and they all sold out. And then part of that grant also will supply this fall 80 trees to plant into our parks. So that's a fantastic opportunity. I also manage the natural resources restoration and maintenance, the Arbor Day tree sale, monitoring programs, integrated pest management, prescribed burning, and I also have taken more interest in reviewing development plans, landscaping plans. So I review those to make sure that the developers are not wanting to plant invasive species in the city. The best way to stop invasive species is prevention. I also look at their plans for pollinator support, diversity, and that's pretty much it. The basic thing is to make sure there are some native plants there for pollinators, the plants aren't invasive, and also that the trees are climate resilient.
And Carol, just to add on to the diversity, part of that is making sure they aren't planting 10 of the same tree in a row so we don't end up with something like emerald ash borer where it wipes out a whole group of trees at the time. So Carol's really up on that, like we have to diversify species of trees as well.
Absolutely. Recommendation number 6, promote the natural area greenways, establishing routes. We don't have any new routes since I came on board, but we are adding the historical components at Applewood and Carver Preserves. We also are planning to improve our signage at the trailhead at Fish Creek. We were supposed to have attribution for our grant for that restoration on the signage, and it's missing, so that's going to be added. Recommendation number 7, integrate natural resources management into parks and preserves. The first one I find very interesting, and it's timely because the past 2 years we've had Honeycrisp apple trees for our Arbor Day tree sale. And every year, there are people that don't pick up their trees. So we've already planted a Honeycrisp apple at the community garden at Edgerton, and one more will be going in this year. We also have 2 more to be planted elsewhere, so if you've got some good ideas for neighborhood parks that might benefit from a Honeycrisp apple tree, let me know. We also, through our grants, have new management plans at Applewood and Carver. I have developed burn units for Fish Creek and Gladstone, and that's something that I'm planning on doing for all of our preserves. It's something that's missing. Because we have the rusty patch bumblebee, it's important not to burn an entire preserve all at once. We need to provide a refuge for those bees so that they can survive. So those are called refugia. So the burn units is an ongoing plan. As Audra was saying, with the diversity of our tree canopy, also diverse pollinator supporting plants in the listed areas there. We also need to develop an integrated pest management plan because of the rusty patch bumblebee, so that we know where it is and we use pesticides as little as possible. Also, the tree canopy diversity through the boulevard replacement trees, Arbor Day sale, and the Sufferer grant is the one with the tree sale and the planting in parks. So a little bit about the City Hall Campus Pollinator Central Grant. That began last year. You may have noticed or remembered the goats that came to City Hall. That was the first part of the plan, was that the goats would eat down the buckthorn and kind of knock it back a little bit. Another part of that was turf conversion, and that just started last fall, where a lot of turf areas that were very large, hard to maintain. They used a lot of fossil fuels to mow and a lot of chemicals to treat. Those are all being converted to pollinator supporting prairie plants. It's been a little bit challenging with the drought to get the seed to germinate. So we, of course, ended up with some weeds. We've been doing some mowing to take care of that, some herbiciding, and there is going to be a second planting of seed this fall. We're going to keep our fingers crossed for some rain, and if not rain, hopefully some snow. Hopefully some snow to get those seeds germinated and going. We also need to do something to discourage geese, and we are going to be, our contractor will be installing some geese deterrents. We do have some native plants up and flowering in spots, but it's very spotty. Any minute now, we will have buckthorn removal. This will not be done by goats. This time it will be a contractor who's going to be cutting and treating. And then the pollinator monitor training is today, so hopefully we'll have some monitors in place quickly so that we can get them over to those few patches with black-eyed Susans and other plants and see what kind of bees are visiting.
Hey, Carol, with the geese, what is the problem with the geese, just to...
Oh, good question. So the problem with the geese is when the seed is spread, geese come like a magnet. So typically with seeding prairie seeds, they have a cover crop, and a lot of times that's oats. And of course that attracts geese. They want to go down there and they eat the oats, and they disturb the native seeds as they're down there feeding on oats. And then you don't have the oats to hold the seed in place. The seed can blow around with erosion, or if we happen to get rain, movement by rain. So the geese, we don't think that they're eating the seeds of the native prairie plants because they're so small, but we know they're definitely eating those oat seeds. Okay, and a little bit about our boulevard ash replacement grant. These are some of the species that we are planting in the neighborhoods. We have a couple species that are a little shorter. The serviceberry and the honey locust are a little bit shorter. All of these are climate resilient species. One of them, the shagbark hickory, is something that we kind of call it assisted migration, where they grow sort of close to the metro area, but we're going to bring them a little bit north due to climate. They should probably do fine here. So these are the species that I usually look at a property in the neighborhood, see what is already present, and then plant accordingly to increase the diversity of the neighborhood. And I also want to mention a partnership with the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. The last 2 years at Joy Preserve, we had biocontrol releases. These are very small, like 2 to 3 millimeter long, little tiny wasps that do not sting people. But what they do is they lay their eggs in the ash tree, and then the larvae that hatch, the wasp larva, will eat the emerald ash borer larva. So they've done numerous releases. The first year they released over 2,000 of these wasps, and they did 2 releases in 2021 and 2 last year. So hopefully they'll make a difference. It is something that the department comes back and surveys to make sure that they're still in the area. We also have a partnership with the Ramsey County Cooperative Weed Management Area, and that should be called Ramsey County Invasive Plants. So it's part of Ramsey County Parks and Recreation, the Soil and Water Department, where they will get grants, and in various places in the county where there are reports, they will go out and treat the invasive plants for the partner. So in this case, they've been treating wild parsnip for us for several years, common tansy, and we do have a lot of invasive knotweed. All 3 of those are rather hard to get rid of, so it's been an ongoing process. Okay, and at this point, I will put up the beautiful Prairie Farm scene and answer any questions you might have.
And Carroll Prairie Farm is located, in case people don't know.
Yes, if you're not sure where Prairie Farm is, it is in the northern part of the city on County Road B between McKnight Road and White Bear Avenue, next to the Brune Shrep Farm.
So County Road D?
D.
Yeah.
D is in dog.
County Road B?
D.
D. D.
Yeah, so you can go visit the Bruntrop Farm
was gonna say, that's by
site,
the
and then the
farm.
prairie is just gorgeous right now, so.
Any questions? Craig?
So if I'm interested in doing some pollinator things in my yard, where do I get the information, the seeds, whatever? How do I go about doing it?
There are a lot of great resources out there. For one, you can contact me, and then depending on if you've got sun or shade, what kind of soil you have, I can give you some advice. There are also some really good references online. The Minnesota Board of Water and Soil Resources has a pollinator page that has just about all the information that you should need. We also nearby every June have a event in Oakdale that's called the Landscape Revival, and it's a event put on by St. Paul Audubon that brings together a lot of the native plant nurseries in the state. So they all come together in one spot. It's one-stop shopping. And then there are also exhibitors there that can give you information from, things you need to know about plants, things that you need to know about pollinators. It's a really great event, and I highly encourage all of our residents to attend that. But I do have several lists of native plants that do well in sun and shade, in part sun, part shade, things that grow in clay. So if anybody wants any information, emailing me is a great way to get that. We also have some great information on our city's pollinator pages, so I also encourage people to check that out.
Anyone else? So with all the buckthorn removal, we're not getting the goats back at all this year? Is that, that was my favorite. I was going to say that would be a great place to put them as the the prairies are over by Gladstone, you were talking about removing, but do we offer volunteer things for like the scouts and the schools and the churches and all that that need volunteer hours? It seems like that would be a really great event for them to participate in.
We do get requests from groups off and on.
Okay,
We have had several Boy Scouts do their, what is it? You know, for Girl Scouts, it's the Gold Award. For the Boy Scouts, it's the Eagle Scout.
yeah,
So we've had Eagle Scouts doing projects. Most Boy Scouts do not allow their scouts to do buckthorn for their Eagle Scout programs anymore.
okay.
But we're always open. We have had groups on occasion that do things like that.
I know I came out with my kids, one of their science classes when they were at John Glenn went there, and
Right.
and that was a really neat thing to do, so.
Yep. And they've done that in several areas.
And I think so many kids need the volunteer hours for confirmation and everything
Right.
else, that would be a great way to
Yep.
get them involved.
Yep, we have had 3M groups as well
Okay,
do some service learning for us, and they're always great. They're very efficient. The Century College classes are,
awesome.
I can't believe you, or I can't tell you how good they are and how efficient. I'll have a day planned out, and typically they're done earlier than I think they will be. And so we just go on to the next task. So that's been wonderful. If there are any groups that need some service time, feel free to contact me. We've got
Okay.
plenty of areas that need buckthorn removed and other projects. We have other invasive plants that could be removed. One problem we have at several sites is a plant called Dame's Rocket. It looks like garden phlox, but it's not. It's a mustard, and it's very invasive, kind of like garlic mustard, if you've heard of that plant. So there's always things to do. We've got a running list.
Great, yeah, I think it's good to get the kids involved as much as we can too. But no goats, huh?
Not in the foreseeable future.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your presentation, it was very informational.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. All right, Chair, members of the commission, if you give me a second here, I'm going to pull up. What I'll be talking about next would be Sunset Ridge Playground replacement. And just to start with, we are going to have the neighborhood meeting. I've got to get the mailing out tomorrow or Friday, but we've picked the date of August 2nd out at Sunset Ridge from 5:30 to 7, just having some boards. I've been working with Northland Recreation, and I've been a little demanding just on different color schemes and things. So the best way to do this was there's going to be 2 potential styles for the playground. One's a little more futuristic, new, modern. One's a little more traditional. And then color schemes, there's so many different ways you can do things. So I've got examples of 4 different color schemes, and both kinds of playgrounds, the traditional version or the more modern one, can be in all those colors. But if I did an example of every color and all, we'd have too many to look at and your head would explode. So I'm just gonna show you 4 different concepts to start with. So this first one, and again, we have traditional playgrounds, a lot of the ones in tan, brown, and green and things, and then we've got bright, and I don't know how many of you, Craig, I think you're quite familiar with that site, but it's a big open container, and it's just not kind of so much in a wooded area, so it would lend itself to a bright, fun playground, but there is also benefit in having the more muted playgrounds. Some of them, if they're like Nebraska, where it's tucked into a neighborhood right next to houses, so there's no wrong way to do it, but we're going to give the residents a lot of options on what they could see.
Where is
So
that one actually located?
this will be at Lower Sunset, up Ridge Park. And I can look up I don't have the address on my head, I can get there. My car can get me there, and I'm just trying to think of exactly where it is, but let's see. Yeah, the best way to do it is, can you help me with seeing? Just trying to find full page. Yeah, I just want the slideshow for this one. Yeah. I can't see. Okay,
And then
beginning, yep.
far left.
Yeah. Got to get my cheaters. Okay. So, and I'll just use the arrows. So this is just for us to look at the top version, and every one of them will be similar to this. But this container is a giant circle. It's a big, large container currently that I think I showed at the previous meeting where you saw there isn't a whole lot in it, a lot of sand and a big circular container. So as you can see, this one's very colorful. And it has some monkey bars, it has a good swing bay. This is the area, if you can see where my pointer is here. This, instead of the traditional playgrounds where they have the larger structure and then the smaller, like a smaller mini version of the larger, this is kind of a futuristic playhouse with the slide-in tunnels and something newer that Little Tikes offers. This is another view of it, so you can see there's sunshades that are important because this playground is very out in the open. And then you can see a little bit more with the little house. There's some games here. You can climb up and down and through the tunnels. And then there's a climbing feature here. The accessible merry-go-round, some more monkey bars here. And then these are some stepping, I wouldn't call them stones, but stepping pathways to lead you from one structure to the other. So this is just different views of what that looks like. So that is option number 1. Any questions about the features, or just kind of soak in the colors and the brightness?
I did have a question. So the overall playground will be on sand, is that correct?
No, it currently is a sand
Okay.
container, but what we're going to do is we're going to keep that same container. It's just helping us with the cost, because a lot of times we have to move the container like at Sherwood. We're going to use this container. It's in perfectly good shape. It's just full of sand, and that's actually going to be engineered wood fiber.
Okay, thank you.
But it does look like sand in the picture, so it won't be poured in place, but it'll be the engineered wood fiber. So that is 1. All right. And then we're going to do, this is the second version, and this is the more traditional. So this is like the playground that you've seen at Wakefield would probably be the most recent example of something in the more natural tones. And this has the more traditional play structure, the mini play structure, instead of the futuristic house. But it has the monkey bars, it has the accessible merry-go-round, it has the crawl under features. It's kind of hard to see it all in the drawing here now, but there's a little standalone. There's some games on there, kind of a sensory play area. But it's all in the muted colors. A couple of butterflies to add some color. It has the shades there as well, and the swing bay. And then this climbing feature here. So just a little bit different style of what we could put in that space. And you can see a little bit closer the spinners and some textured crawling. It's not really a slide, but you can crawl up with some natural, like, fossils built in and some other play features there. And at the open house, I'll have a list of what those features are so people can see a little more, but I just wanted to give you an idea from the pictures. So that is option number 2. And then again, like, they can come, that option could come in all of the colors. I'm just, to keep it as simple as I can, 3 and 4 are going to be the original playground with the more futuristic play area for now, just in the interest of, and let's see, this one was sent in a different way to me, so it's not necessarily a PDF or a PowerPoint, but these colors are a little bit lighter. It's not so many colors. It's like the first one. It's a little more toned down, some more of the colors like we saw at Sherwood. It's very similar to the color scheme at Sherwood, actually, but it has the purple brought in. So again, it's that same concept that you saw in the beginning, just the different color scheme. And this color scheme could go on the more traditional playground set as well. Okay. And then this last one. And it's interesting because there's always something for everyone. People love something, and this one was the most surprising for me, but there was other people in the office that saw it and just loved it, so I'm gonna just share it. And so this one is in dark It has two, and I should point out the newer concept has 2 shades. The other one has 1 larger one. This one has 2 sunshades. But we could also put the 2 sunshades on the more traditional if we can figure that out. I mean, anything's possible. We just had to start with something that would fit in our price range and the container size and then kind of go from there. That probably gives you the best idea of, there we go. And if you want me to go back to anything, let me know. Okay, so those would be the 4 color options and the 2 styles of playgrounds that we're looking at to put in at Sunset. And then what we're gonna do is have the open house, the neighborhood will be invited, and we'll put something on social media if other people wanna come and weigh in, and you'll all be invited to come, and from 5:30 to 7. We'll just take feedback and have all these boards up, and I'm hoping that Mike from Northland can be there so he can answer any questions if there's questions about a certain kind of play equipment, or some people want to ask about something. So that is where we are in the plans. Any questions about Sunset? Mark?
My only comment on that is after entertaining 3 of my grandkids for the last 2 weeks, they would be going for option number 1.
Okay.
With that different type of.
The futuristic playhouse, yeah.
Yeah, that would seem to, when we took them to different parks throughout the area, that was what they kind of were attracted to.
Sure.
So-
Yeah, it
and as
encourages
for
that,
color,
imagination play is the whole
Yeah.
point, because usually, a lot of times you'll see the little playground, but even the little kids tend to want to go on the big one right away, so this would just offer a different option for,
Yeah, we went to one park up in Cumberland, up by our cabin, and it was a complete departure from any of these types of things, and they absolutely loved that. But it was a lot of climbing and just different movement types of things, not a lot of stationary slides or anything like that, but each piece was independent.
Sure.
So, but I'd still like number 1.
So what are we gonna do with the park up top? I know we talked about that before, but it slipped my mind.
well, we're looking at, with the swing that's up there, and just not replacing, we're not planning to put future playground equipment up there if, once, what's there is deemed not usable anymore, just because it doesn't make sense money-wise to have 2 parks, one right on top of the other. We're looking at creating more of a passive recreation area there, maybe putting more strategic benches, something like that, and just so people can enjoy that space, but the main play area is gonna be that lower park, that playground.
Yeah, my wife walks that trail every day, and that upper part hardly gets used.
Right.
The
Well,
lower
just that there's
one,
no parking lot, or it's
it's hard to get to.
Yeah.
It's just very hard to get to.
Yeah, so even if you see the address for the park, you kind of have to know the area to know how to get there, or you'll come to this cul-de-sac where there's someone's house and you were like, where's the playground? So, yeah. But from what I've heard, and people have emailed and called me, that, the neighborhood's turning over. There are younger families now in the neighborhood, so they're really excited about having this playground close by in their neighborhood. And that's why it's a smaller scale playground, because it's considered a neighborhood park, but yeah, we're excited.
So how are we inviting all these neighbors? Are we just putting it on social media?
No,
Are we
direct
giving them
bill-
like a flyer or
No,
something?
it's a direct mailing letter from me
Okay,
to the immediate neighborhood, but then I'll also put it on social media, so
Others
if
can come,
you want
yeah.
to come and comment, if you don't live in the neighborhood, we prioritize because it's a neighborhood park.
Yeah,
We
I would-
want the neighbors to come and
correct. I think that's the
give
best
us
bet.
what input they want for the park in their neighborhood.
Are there a lot of houses right by that park, or?
Fair amount, yeah.
I was gonna say, so would they want the brightness, I wonder, or would they like the more conservative if there's houses right by? That'll be interesting.
we'll find
Yeah, I was
out.
gonna say, it'll
Yeah,
be
we'll
interesting to
find out.
see,
We
yep.
don't know that
So they
until
better
we
show up and tell us.
Right, right,
That's a question you can't answer.
Yeah,
right.
Nope, that's-
well, thank you.
Yeah. And then I have some updates. I didn't know if I'd have time to get, because the day got away from me, but I was able to go take pictures so I can give you more than just a verbal update on Goodrich and Sherwood. It looks like, what did I say first? Goodrich. Okay. I went out to Goodrich. We are really close to being done. That project was supposed to be done on or before August 18th, but we're ahead of schedule. So There's a few more things in the picnic shelter. They have to install the light, the parking lot, a light has to be installed. There's some landscape work that has to be done, but when I went there today, they just installed the, let's see, is that large enough that you can see it? They have installed the picnic shelter now, and there were people having a picnic under the shelter. And I just took those right before the meeting. And it's kind of neat because this, when you see this area here where the bike racks are and the drinking fountain, doesn't it almost look like it was always there? But it wasn't. It was just the playground and then grass. So this is all, those ash trees that were dead were removed. And so this is a view before you get to the parking lot of, this is where the bike racks are, and the benches, the landscaping, the new trees. So now we'll have trees to help shade this parking lot. The drinking fountain is there. So it's coming together fairly well. This isn't just a view from, I'm standing in the parking lot in this one for the bike racks there and looking at the playground. And all that landscaping is new. It wasn't there before. And, come on. This is this is going into the parking lot. So this is off of the street, just heading in from the street. So the picnic shelter's here, playground's over here. This sidewalk and connection is all new. And these are the handicap accessible parking spots. That's my car. So, let's see. I think I might have skipped 5. I'm just gonna, yeah, I did. So this is the view of the parking lot. So coming up the road, and then these are the parking stalls. This is gonna be the parking lot light. It's not in yet. That's where it's gonna be going and facing out this way. This is for the handicap accessible satellite restroom. And I have one more picture. I tried to kind of get, so you get a feel of what it looks like. So you've got the picnic shelter, and we still have to install the grills and the coal bin, but then there's quite a bit of bench seating and quite a few trees, so it's gonna really help this area, because before it was just a playground, no shade. So that is where we're at with that. Any questions? Yeah. It's really coming together. It's what the playground needed, not just that playground all by itself. And I haven't had any neighbors complain, because the parking lot's been open now for a couple weeks while they're working, and I haven't heard any complaints, so I'm taking that as a good sign.
The ball field's getting used at all?
Yep.
Good.
Yep, they are. And then Sherwood, we're so close to being done, but one of the shades didn't ship. There was a oops, and I have an ETA. I checked with Mike Dorsey, and August 5th ship date, because they make the fabric in Africa, and for whatever reason, the largest shade, it's still supply chain issues, so we've got everything but the large shade, which this playground needs because it's right out in the open, but I did take 3 pictures of it today. So this is kind of a side view. So this is what I was talking about, the smaller traditional play structure versus the large that we just looked at. And this is, we'll be putting picnic bench under here, but this is just a shade station. So and this trail leads all the way back down to the playground, which is all new. There was never trail access there before. So, and this is the main section of the playground. This right up here is where the shade needs to go. We could have used it today. So it'll be just like these. We're just waiting on one last shade.
Audra, quick question on those. Do those shades come down in the wintertime?
They can. They're made to leave up if you want to, but
Yeah, okay.
but you also can take them down for longevity. So we've left some up, and it's at Maple Crest, and they seem to do okay. But you were totally able to take them down. Let's see, and this one isn't super exciting, but it's just the swing base. You can see this is the one where the neighbors actually at the open house, we had one of those child parent swings that we were going to add, and they said, no, we want an extra regular swing because the kids just love to swing. So we ended up taking that out and just adding an extra, more traditional swing. So, and this will be the surface that we'll have at the new playground too. That's the engineered wood fiber. So it's, and you know how they say new car smell? There's nothing better than going to a playground when you have the fresh wood chips in there. It's like, it smells so good. So that is the update on, okay, I'm done with the computer. So that is the update on the parks. Any questions on Sherwood or Goodrich? So we're in the home stretch. Okay. Right. And then if it's okay with you, I can go right into staff presentations. That's usually reserved for just other updates. And I just wanted to let you know that, Touch a Truck, for those of you who didn't know, Touch a Truck, we had to cancel the event this year for the first time ever due to air quality. The air quality by 2:30 in the afternoon was approaching 200. I'm trying to remember what that acronym is for unhealthy air. It was just in the red zone, so we had to cancel the event. So that was sad but necessary. And so we have rescheduled it for September 13th. That was the day that we didn't want to do it too close to Labor Day. And we moved the time up a half hour because of sunset. So instead of 6 to 7:30, it's 5:30 to 7. But it'll still be at the YMCA, and everybody that was there knows of the rescheduled date. And we'll be back, so we hope we can make it there. It's up to the commission. We can talk about it if you want to man a booth there, or if we just want, since we had to reschedule that, and I wanted to kind of slide into, meeting once a month, and the summer goes so quick. If we want to do a bus tour, how we want to work all that in. We could, I know some people are gone for the meeting in September. We could schedule the bus tour for August, the August meeting, or we could wait till October. But if we waited till October, we'd have to do it earlier in the day because it'll get dark so soon. We wouldn't be able to do it at night. So just something to think about. If we don't decide now, since there's 3 of us missing, I can send out a poll and just ask you to respond to me without hitting reply all and give me your thoughts. And we, and then
That
we can talk
works.
about it more. But just trying to figure out where to place that.
So are we saying we may not have a booth for us at Touch a Truck?
Oh, we can if yep.
Yeah.
There will be a booth. I just, you all committed to June. If you're willing to, it'd be great to have
That's the best event.
right? So we could have a booth. We could have a booth at Touch a Truck, or we could switch it to. Next week is already a little too soon, but we do have the Celebrate Summer event out at Edgerton School in August, and we could do it there. But it would be great to have you come man the booth at Touch a Truck, or I could just make it volunteer, and those of you who could make it, but we'll have staff there. We could do it that way too. Because otherwise.
I, for one, will not be able to make the 13th
Okay.
of September, so.
Okay. So yep, just think about it, August, if we wanna do it then. Sunset won't. Yeah, it would, normally it would replace our meeting. We would do the parks tour, because just going out to see all of the parks and talking about what's there and what would be. Oh,
That would be August 16th.
so I will send an email out to follow up with everyone, and then just let me know if you're, and it sounds like, with September being Touch a Truck, probably August or October for the tour, and then I'd have to figure out time-wise what it would have to be in October. I'll send that in the email so you can see that. I'll check sunset, and, because we don't want to be doing the tour in the dark. That kind of defeats the purpose, so. All right. And that is really all I had for any updates, other than you're welcome. July 26th is the Celebrate Summer event out at Afton, like Taylor had mentioned. And we weren't sure if we'd have it, so we didn't advertise till just this week. But our favorite petting zoo that always came to our movie nights at the Brintrop Farm, they weren't doing things for a while, but now they are. So they will be out at the Afton event, so it'll be fun. The Celebrate Summer. Which petting zoo? Oh, you called me on it.
I don't know. I know you guys used to have one, and my son had said he was not having a graduation party. No way, no how. I said, oh, yes, you will. He said, only if I have a petting zoo. So we had a petting zoo from one of your events at our graduation party, and it was the biggest hit ever. It was so, it was a really good party breaker. Everybody was up there talking.
I don't know how to say it, if it's HASSE, so Hasse or Haas
No, I don't
Family
think-
Petting Zoo
Yeah, I
from
don't know if it
Pemberton.
was that one. I not
Yeah,
sure,
they were
but
the ones that came out to our movie
Okay.
nights, and they're great, and we have the large petting zoo coming with
Okay.
all the things.
It's a
so
great way to get people together, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
That was awesome to have
So-
at his party.
It should be really fun. And
What
that's
is the
all.
start time on that?
6 o'clock.
Okay.
Yep, and so it'll be, after, it's gonna be giant inflatables, the Boy Scouts will be there with that station they have for the target shooting, the bow shooting, but it's the safe way. A lot of the normal vendors, like Ramsey County will be there with their swag, Taylor will be there with her survey, we'll have lots of games, we've got some really cool inflatables, we mixed it up a little bit, so, should be fun. Hopefully everyone can come. That's all I have.
Any other comments? No? Meeting adjourned
Nope.
at?
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn the meeting?
I second it.
All in favor? Or
Aye.
second? Aye.